Progress! Guess what? What? The sun is out! We're going on a field trip. Welcome to my front yard. So for our assignment today, we're going to get a little creative outside because it's way too pretty not to. You're going to need a couple things, though. I need you to go get something to write with and a piece of paper. Ready, set, go. Ding-a-ding-ding. Got two parts of your lesson today. First part. As I'm reading, you're going to listen and write down 5 facts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you need to have those written down on your paper by the end of the story because you're going to need them after that. Since we're outside today, we have a special guest star as well. Are you ready for him? Clap your hands for Gregory Goat. Gregory Goat's got a talent. He's really good at vocabulary words, so he's going to help us out some today. Is your paper ready? Is your brain ready? Are your ears ready? Here we go. George Frederick Handel was one of the most famous composers in Europe during the 1700s. He traveled all over Germany and Italy, learning as much as he could about the music of the day. In 1712, George Handel moved to London, England. There he spent the rest of his life composing some of the greatest music ever written. Frederick was born in the German town of Hale in 1685. Hale was a lively town while George was growing up. It had lots of places where he could hear music. Organ recitals and choir music were performed at the town's many churches. Town musicians played brass instruments for special occasions, and Hale had lots of street musicians too. George Frederick Handel also got to meet many interesting people when he was little. People from all over the world came to see his father, who is a well-known barber surgeon. Oh boy. Take a look at this picture. What in the world do you think is going on? Look at all that hair. As unusual as it seems today, during the 1600s and 1700s, barbers not only cut hair, but also were trained as doctors and operated on people. George loved music from the time when he was very young. Unfortunately, his father didn't care for it at all. How rude. Mr. Handel thought music was a waste of time and that musicians could never make a good living. He didn't want George to study music or even play an instrument. There is a story that tells how George's mother and aunt helped smuggle a harpsichord into the attic so George could practice quietly at night. Wow. So later on down the road, when Handel turned 10, his father took him on a grand trip, and they ended up visiting the Duke. Now, while they were there, George actually snuck off, found an organ, and began playing. The Duke heard his music and came up to his father and was like, "I have the most talented child I have ever heard. Take him home and put him in lessons now." Well, you can't really tell the Duke no, so when they got home, Handel began taking lessons. So Mr. George began playing lots of different instruments when he started his lessons. He had the oboe, the violin, but his favorite one that he liked was the organ. George loved to play music so much that he decided to make it his career. While Mr. George was working, he met a friend. Friends make everything better. His name was Mr. Johann. It says, Johann and George became best of friends and helped each other with their music. Once, however, they had a serious argument and got into a duel with swords. George Handel could be very stubborn, especially when it came to music. Fortunately, no one was seriously hurt during the fight, and George and Johann soon became friends again. In fact, Johann helped George write his first opera. Gregory, what's an opera? Oh, okay. Operas were the top entertainment in Europe during Handel's time. They were as popular as movies are today. People loved to spend evenings listening to the great singers and watching them act out a story with beautiful costumes and scenery. George began traveling a lot after that and eventually ended up in London, England, where he started his very own opera company. That company didn't last very long, though, because people soon began getting bored with the opera. So once the whole opera thing kind of went downhill, he started writing oratorios. An oratorio? But I thought that was an opera. So, what's the difference? Oh, okay, no costumes. Usually Handel wrote his oratorios about exciting stories from the Bible. The songs were sung in English so that everyone in London could understand what was going on. He was a really nice guy. In April of 1759, after giving a performance of the Messiah, Handel became ill and he died 8 days later at the age of 74. Even though he composed many well-loved operas, oratorios, and orchestral pieces, the Messiah was his favorite, and eventually it became appreciated in London too. Today it is even considered one of the world's greatest masterpieces. Okay, so now for your assignment, you're going to take those facts that you came up with, and you get to write a rap. Chicka-chicka-choo! Mine's going to be at the end of this. Can't wait to hear them. Please send them to me. Gregory and I cannot wait to see what you got. Bye, guys. George Handel, born in country Germany, wrote oratorios daily. His papa likes throwing the shade. A British fade, broke era. Good job, Gregory.